Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Wrestling Fans Insight. We are on episode number 36, and thanks to many of you who actually listened to our special bonus episode, we actually, between the 2 days, we actually had 75 downloads on that episode, believe it or not. So,
Nice.
thank you for everyone who tuned in for that short little episode, given our ever so fun Survivor Series predictions, if you call it that. So, but anyhow, I'm joined by my co-host William. Hello, Will.
Hello.
Heather, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Ready to get the show on the road.
Awesome. And Carlos, how are you today, bud? You feeling better?
Yeah, I'm feeling scriptsy today.
Oh,
Oh my god.
Even Will is shaking his head, closing his eyes like, what the fuck?
Feeling scriptsy. Woo! Oh, yeah.
Here Carlos calls me the heel on Twitter. Oh, Lord. I can't believe you went there.
Shots fired.
I would say, thanks. Yeah. But anyhow, excuse me, I'm sorry. God. I was trying not to go through coughing on this episode, and Carlos screwed it up. Anyways, no, I hope every one of you had an awesome Black Friday, awesome Thanksgiving if you didn't listen to our last episode. But we're going to get right to it because we got a lot to cover today. Well, I guess you can call it a lot to cover. We're going to actually break our normal format. We're going to start with AEW since WWE was the meat and potatoes this week for us. So, without any further ado, let's get off to the AEW Dynamite results. In the opening match for the AEW All-Atlantic Championship, Orange Cassidy successfully retains against Jake Hager. And there was some shenanigans after that. In the World Title Eliminator final match for the AEW World Championship, Ricky Starks somehow manages through his injuries, gets the victory over Ethan Page. I believe that's going to be my upset for the week. Match number 3, which is the best of 7 series for the Trios Championship. Death Triangle gets the victory over the Elite, which now puts Death Triangle 2-0 so far, so they got 2 more to win to keep those championships. And in a 3-way, I guess you can say, or a triple threat tag team match, however you want to look at it, the team of Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and the AEW Women's Champion Jamie Hayter defeat the team of Tay Mello and Anna JAS, and the other team, Willow Nightingale and Sky Blue. And in that main event, the Ring of Honor World Championship, Chris Jericho manages to retain against Ishii. And going into the Rampage results, great opening match for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. FTR. I really cannot talk today. Damn Carlos. FTR retains against Top Flight. Darby Allin gets a victory over Anthony Henry. Hikaru Shida gets a victory over, is it Queen Aminata? Aminata. I can never pronounce it right. And in the main event, which I guess was a 6-man tag, not really, Roosh, Butcher, and the Blade get the victory over Dark Order, only it was John Silver and Alex Reynolds. And we saw a little bit of fun post-match there as we see Preston 10 Vance, who was supposed to be in that match, turns on his former friend's Dark Order. So, do you want to start off on this one, Will?
Sure.
Okay.
The Hager versus Orange match, it was an okay match. I found it more entertaining because I knew that Hager was going to come out and have some fun with it. I knew he was going to react with Orange Cassidy the way that he did. So, got to throw love for Hager on that one. Ethan versus Ricky Starks, that was a good match. I was actually surprised because I didn't think that Ricky Starks was really in that position quite yet.
No, I think everybody pretty much had it in their minds that Ethan Page was going to
Yeah.
win that and feud with MJF with the whole Firm and MJF splitting ways.
Yeah, that one it threw me off. The Young Bucks and Kenny Omega versus the Death Triangle. It was an awesome match. They're really starting to get into hammering things down, aren't they?
Yes, about damn time.
The three-way tag team match for the women. I didn't enjoy it that much. It just seemed like it was just.
It was a filler match.
It was too scattered all over the place. And then Chris Jericho, of course, against Tomohiro Ishii. That was an excellent match. I have really appreciated the tap out.
Yeah, especially a tough guy Ishii is.
Yeah.
You would never expect him to.
Like, that's got to be like hitting a brick wall.
Yeah.
Okay, as far as Rampage, excellent physical match between FTR and Top Flight. It was everything I expected that to be. Never really seen Anthony Henry wrestle before.
He's mostly an indies guy.
Yeah, so that one, between him and Darby, it was an okay match.
Yeah, it didn't really tell their past history in the indies very well, so...
No. The Hikaru Shida versus Queen Aminata, I don't even see a point to why they bothered with that. They could have cut the previous match and given the women a little more time.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it was to get Hikaru Shida back on momentum in her winning ways.
Which would have played much better if they would have given her more match time.
And they're also, I guess, trying to throw in Allie and Penelope Ford to
they're definitely
have a feud with Hikaru.
They're definitely pushing for that.
Yeah.
And then the last match, Butcher, Blade, and Roosh versus, the two guys from Dark Order. I really, really was digging the match up until 10 came out and did the betrayal. I think they might have gone a little too far on that betrayal.
Yeah, well, let's get... why don't we go to Heather on her takes for AEW this week?
I thought it was okay. Jake Hager versus Orange Cassidy, it was okay except for them fighting over that hat. Like, that was just really dumb. But I was glad that Orange Cassidy retained. And I like the fact that House of Light made their return, finally. And Ethan Page and Ricky Starks, I thought Ricky Starks did really good, and I'm glad that he won. And then the Elite losing for the second time, they need to hurry up and start winning. And Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker winning, getting the win. I kind of figured that one. And Jericho versus, what is his name?
Tomohiro Ishii.
All right, that was a pretty good match because they was beating the crap out of each other just with the chops and stuff. But ain't that kind of what him and Eddie Kingston did at one of them pay-per-views?
Yeah, I believe it was at All Out. They had the match against each other, and that's one of the things the negative IWC was on top of them about, because it was a complaint it was nothing but a chop fest. Well, apparently you don't have respect for Japanese wrestling, because that's what you're going to see quite a bit there all the time.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because that they were complaining about that, and they were basically doing the same thing with Jericho. But I mean, I thought the match was good. I thought the match was really good. And then on Rampage, the Top Flight versus FTR, I thought that was a really good match too. And I liked the Darby Allin match, even though I really didn't know who Anthony Henry was. I know they said something about that they had history together, but I'd never seen him wrestle before. And I don't really understand the purpose of the Sheeta and the Queen, whatever her name is, match. and the Butcher and the Blade and Rouge and John Silver and Alex Reynolds was a good match until Ken came out there and did what he did and all that stuff. So, but overall, it was pretty good.
Carlos?
All right, so let me talk to you, North LA Night. So the first, you guys even talk about the CM Punk trolling. Oh my gosh, what the heck? I love the opening segment with the Bryan Danielson. I thought like that, but like take away from the bloodline, like that was like and people like talk about AEW does have good storytelling. That whole promo was amazing. I mean, I was so freaking invested, and I cannot wait to see what happens with this now. It's like it was an amazing promo by him, just speaking his truth, and again just touching on the heartstrings. I thought that was a really good promo. I didn't like seeing the factory out there after that match with Orange Cassidy. One thing for me is for Tony Khan, like, just let the feuds die, like, that's the thing where it's like, okay, they just beat their ass on the 0 hour pre-show, and like, what now? Like, you're gonna bring them out again? Like, they didn't really need them out there in order to have the House of Black debut. I just thought that was kind of dumb. I think Jade should have beat Kira out of the baddies. Should have beat her up as being a badass instead of the lawyer. That's the one thing I want to see with Jade more is I want to just see her be more of a badass and just be more of a legit, someone who just doesn't take shit. I'm happy for Ricky Starks. I thought that was really good storytelling in the match. How he played up to his injury. I'm happy for him too because then I think that shows MJF's going to stay heel, obviously. So I like that a lot. You could not convince me that CM Punk's not coming back now after all that trolling. I know they're getting heat for it, but I think there's some kind of deal done. And again, if I get to put my little, IWC Booker hat on again, I would love for next year to see all, the Elite versus CM Punk and FTR in a loser leaves town match because I really do think that FTR is going to go back to WWE, and I would just like to see them get that kind of payoff for that feud. I just think it'd be awesome. At all next year. I'm over Sky Blue. Like, all she does is lose. I don't want to see her on my TV for like 6 months, please. And then again, the whole thing too is like, I get they don't have the rankings anymore, but for me, like, you still have wins and losses, and it made no sense to me that you're gonna have Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett come out after they lost at All Out to Darby and Sting. Like, so the losing team's gonna get the title shot. I didn't like that kind of. I didn't like that didn't make no sense to me. That made no sense in the booking to me. On AEW Rampage, that opening match reminded me of why I love tag team wrestling. I love Top Fly. I love FTR. A solid opening bout. But I feel like Rampage tonight was very, very Ring of Honor heavy, and my thought was I don't mind that for Rampage being used to build towards Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view, and I would like for them to do that and kind of keep AEW, being about AEW storylines besides maybe one segment being about ROH, because I get that Tony Khan has to, he has to build that pay-per-view, but at the same time, let's have one show be about that, and then let's have the other show be focused on AEW storylines. I'm in agreement with you guys. I didn't like the women's match at all. The one thing I feel like Tony Khan needs to be able to take the heat about is, as long as women are getting time on television, that counts to me just as good as a match. And for myself, I would have liked to have seen Tony Storm's interview be outside in front of the crowd, but I thought it was really, really good. And I would have liked to seen her given more time, and maybe the next competitor that wants to step up, trying to earn themselves a title shot, goes after Tony. I feel like the match did nothing for me whatsoever. As far as the main event, I thought maybe, Dom Mysterio can give Negative some acting lessons, as far as how to act, because I feel like his acting his acting as a kid during the Eddie and Ray feud blew -1 out of the water. Like, he was just kind of just crouched down, just looking around. I thought the whole acting was dumb. Eventually, I'd like to see Rush's faction end up in ROH. And then I didn't, and again, I'm happy for Preston, but I didn't like the fact that the wrestler with the most upside in Preston Vance was taken out of the Dark Order. They might as well just disband that group now. They mean nothing to me anymore. That's all I got for AEW.
Yeah, and I thought Stu Grayson was back in AEW. Am I wrong?
I think he was just in town for Canada, because when they were in Canada, because he's Canadian.
Oh, okay.
And for me, like, it's one of those things where it's like, because I think what Tony Khan wanted to do, I think like Peter Avalon they're on a paid per appearance deal. I don't think he wanted that. I think he wanted a contract. But at the same time, you have the money, Tony. Bring him back and bring back Cole. I mean, they just need something. But again, to me, like the thing that's going to invest you in a group is you're going to eventually see that one person who eventually becomes a big star. That's the whole idea of a faction, and they just took the guy out with the most upside and the guy who would be that for them. So the group really has no more purpose, if you ask me. Even with Alan Angels leaving too, he's the young guy too. They both left. They're both not in the group anymore.
Yeah, and I have to agree. I mean, if they're going to start taking away any more members, you might as well just not have the faction anymore, because now you're basically just down to Evil Uno, Evil Uno,
Reynolds and
Silver. And if he ages to 18 real fast, maybe -1, but by that time he'll already, Dark Order's not even going to exist anymore.
But all the other guys will be retired, so it's like they got to start. To me, it's like you're taking out the one guy who had the most upside. It makes no sense.
Yeah,
and they already have so many superstars as it is. Come on.
Yeah,
it's like they needed another heel.
One thing I do want to touch, because I know we talked about it on last Sunday's episode, and you brought it up again. I think what really Tony Khan needs to look at is maybe keeping AEW Dynamite on the Wednesdays, but instead of having it as AEW Rampage, he needs to turn that to like maybe Ring of Honor Rampage or something, and maybe find a way to get a 2-hour slot. I think it would help the Ring of Honor brand for one. But two, if you're going to start planning to do something with 2 different companies that you own, you need to start getting it in gear, especially now, because you're almost at the year end, and really, when the new year hits, everybody's going to want to start fresh and everything, because you're starting to get more into the WrestleMania season. You got a lot to compete with that, and if he wants his 2 companies going, this is the time to start getting it going.
And for sure, like for me, like I know he doesn't want to compete against the NFL, but if he's gonna have Ring of Honor, let's say if it ends up on HBO Max, for example, like eventually, like I would film I would do like what you're saying, or I would film Rampage on Thursdays and then have Ring of Honor on Fridays.
Yeah,
and have Rampage be live every week.
Yeah, that's another possibility there too. Well, and also take.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. I was going to say also take one of those YouTube nights and make that the Ring of Honor one as well. At least divide it up a little bit and showcase your brands a little more. However, I would kind of get a little bit further away from. Get a little more division in days between those 2 nights. Have one like a Monday and the other like either like a Thursday or. Well, I guess Monday, Tuesday would have to work in a way, because your 2 main shows are Wednesday, Friday. But if you put it on Thursday, though, you're really only kind of, in a way, trying to compete with Impact, and that's really not much competition there either.
Exactly. I mean, correct, exactly. I think his big thing is about having NFL on Thursdays, but again, it's only for 16. I mean, the season's not that long. I mean, Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
Well, and that's really wrestling's slow season is when the NFL's playing, because NBA doesn't, as I'm going through puberty there, NBA, doesn't really compete much when it comes to the professional wrestling, because hell, they got 82 games a year, so each team has 82 games a year, so correct. They can always go back and watch their teams later. Football, it's like once a week. So
yeah, for sure. And for me too, like his logic doesn't make sense right now, because like he was sharing on the scrum about I think Ring of Honor deserves more than a YouTube show, and I agree with him. But at the same time, while you're waiting for that big deal, you could still be doing a YouTube show to build it and build characters and to give your other shows back to AEW and not have to put all those Ring of Honor storylines on there. It's still a means to the end. So and then again, if you're showcasing what you have in mind, then it's going to be more ideal, and it's going to be more logical that you're going to get that TV deal for showing that you have a good show for the people. Show them what you have. Show them what your ideas are.
Exactly.
Put your thing to fruition. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And before I forget, thank you for giving me kudos for calling out the main event of Full Gear. Thank you for giving me my kudos for calling the brass knuck shot. Appreciate that.
Well, somebody had to, damn it,
Thank you. I didn't see much people talking because I right away when Regal first did his podcast, all about MJF, I'm like, oh, there's something coming up. I already knew. And then when he talked about not using the ring, it's going to be the Knucks. And so thank you for that shout out.
Oh, you're welcome. I figure you always deserve that,
For sure.
Because, Heather tried to give me credit for call on one of Brian Ballard's posts, and I had to make sure I hurry and correct that before she set him up to kick my ass next. So
you're gonna have a bus coming down to your house.
First she sticks Sergeant Slaughter on me, and now she's trying to stick Brian Ballard. So
bus of whoop ass.
I'd say I don't know what the hell I did to her.
In case one doesn't get the job done, the other one will.
Yeah. We're back from our short little break. We're not going to get much into the weekly WWE programming because it was the build to Survivor Series, which is basically our main cover for today. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. For the Monday Night Raw results, the Brawling Brutes defeat the Judgment Day. Omos defeats Johnny Gargano.
Boo!
Yeah, I don't. Thanks a lot, Miz, you pussy. Anyways... match number 3.
You watch the Miz slander there.
Sorry. Match number 3, Austin Theory defeats Mustafa Ali. The tag team of Elias and Matthew Riddle defeat the team of Alpha Academy. Drew McIntyre gets the victory over Baron Corbin. And in what was the War Games advantage match for the women's War Games match, Rhea Ripley gets the advantage for her team, defeating Asuka. And in NXT, Cora Jade defeats Wendy Chu. Ivy Nile defeats Kiana James. Carlos' new favorite, Scripps, defeats Guru Raj. Zoe Stark getting the victory over the newcomer Sol Ruka. For the NXT Tag Team Championship, Pretty Deadly retains against Andre Chase and Duke Hudson. And in the NXT North American Championship match, Wesley retains over Carmelo Hayes. And going through the SmackDown results, we found out that Becky Lynch, I hate you, Will, and Carlos, Becky Lynch was announced as the 5th member for Team Bel Air. I don't really hate you guys. I love you too much. In the first match of that night for one of the World Cup semifinals, Santos Escobar gets a victory over Booch. The Viking Raiders get a dominant victory over Hit Row. In the other World Cup semifinal, Ricochet gets the upset over Braun Strowman. Match number 4, the team of Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler gets the victory over Shotzi and Raquel Rodriguez. And in the main event, which was a War Games advantage for the men's War Games match, Sheamus and Drew McIntyre get the victory and the advantage for their team against the Usos there. So, without any further ado, did you guys have anything on that real quick?
I have absolutely nothing on Raw or SmackDown.
Okay. Did you have anything on NXT?
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's go ahead and hear your NXT thoughts.
As far as Cora Jade versus Wendy Chu, I really, really like the direction that they're going with Cora Jade. She's just getting meaner and meaner. She's pushing that hill pretty good. Definitely want to throw out props to Ivy Nile. That was a good match, and I was actually surprised by the tap out. Scripps. Come on.
You mean Reggie?
Yes. Come on.
How do you know it's Reggie now? He's wearing a mask.
I'm sorry.
What I wrote down about this was just weird.
The mask wearing Reggie. Sorry.
It was just weird. It was weird usage of him. It threw me off. Zoe Starks versus Sol Ruka. It wasn't a bad match. I'm just really, really kind of disappointed what they're doing with Sol Ruka.
Well, keep in mind she's brand new, so
Yeah.
I think it'll be a matter of time. As good as she actually still looked in that match, I think she'll end up being a bigger star than what we're seeing now.
Yeah. Chase U versus Pretty Deadly. I wrote down, really? Is it going to be this obvious?
Well, yeah. I mean, we're all expecting Duke Hudson
Oh, yeah.
can chase you at some point.
My favorite match of the night was definitely Wesley versus Carmelo Hayes. It was an excellent match with a great finish.
I'm sorry, Carmelo Hayes is ready for main roster. Get his ass up there.
He's been ready for main roster for like a year.
Yeah, I mean, the way that guy works, there's no doubt he can hold his own up there.
Yep, and that's pretty much everything I got for,
All right.
WWE's programming for the week, except for Survivor Series.
Okay. Heather, you have anything to add to it?
No, I don't. I don't have anything to add to any of that.
Carlos?
I do have something to add. So for Raw, can we swap Vic Joseph and Kevin Patrick immediately? Like, Kevin Patrick to me just isn't getting it. Like, he just doesn't connect with the fans. He makes Raw feel very generic. Like, they need to move Vic Joseph up and then have him earn his stripes. Then maybe move Kevin Patrick back. And then for me, like, the one thing, and it was even my notes from, like, when we missed last week, is, like, they just need to have bigger stars on there. I feel like the music is what's really killing Raw. Like, even changing Johnny Gargano's theme, and it's people like, well, they had to because, they lost the music. Well, I'm like, they didn't have to. They could have paid the money and kept the rights, Like, that to me is like, you have all the Saudi Arabia money, like, use it for the right reasons, like, use it for, to get the rights for, the right music and like help, Sean Benjamin, had his old theme song. It would just add so much more. I would go get John Morrison too and just have him, like, because it just seems like there's no connection between the crowd and the music. It's very just like watching like almost like a tennis match. It's just boring. And then for me, like, what are the wrestlers fighting for? Like, for example, like they should have the Usos on there this week, like, again, because to me, okay, like Riddle and Elias won. Now give him a tag title match. Like what are they fighting for? What's the end of the feuds? Like that was my big thing there. And again, like the Bloodline should have been on there. As far as SmackDown goes, the programming gods worked in my favor this week and it didn't record, so all I had to watch was the highlights, which I'm happy about. After, I was like, oh darn, yeah, I didn't get to watch the whole 2 hours. Boo, like. After watching the highlights on YouTube, it fed me enough of what I needed to see. After what they did to Shotzi on Friday, I had no interest in watching Saturday, and I was the one willing to give it a chance. And they just ruined that match by the build up. I love seeing Braun get his receipt for his comments about his crown jewel match. So I love seeing him lose to Ricochet. And then I like the LA Knight has no fear with his feed for Bray. Again, that's gonna people sit there, fans on Twitter talking about, oh, it's not gonna look good if LA Knight's in the feud with Bray because he's gonna lose. But it's like, well, just with LA Knight being in a feud with Bray, it elevates him. So I like the fact that he's in that feud with him. As far as let's talk about NXT. I thought Katana and Chance, I love how they're improving and everything. I love that they gave the women a lot of segments and matches. They had 3 matches, I think, in one segment. I didn't like how they did Wendy Chu dirty. Give my girl some waterless makeup. Like that was just so sad. Like her whole face was washed away after she got hit with that thing.
Well, don't forget her eyelash was right there in the middle of her face.
It was so sad. Like you couldn't get the girl with some waterless makeup. I mean, come on. The whole scripts thing. I mean, come on. I mean, did they go shopping at the after party sale at Halloween City, or it's like God has got his costume 50% off? I'm like, that was so tragic. And it's like we all know, it's Axiom is a kid, but at least there's some, we don't know, but we do know. Like, that was just so ridiculous. They should just have it come out to Kofi's theme song and, made it an all for one, just a slap in the face, like on Shawn Michaels. For me, the only thing that could save this gimmick, and I'm being serious about this, is like, I would love to see Andre Chase come out next week and just slap the hell out of him and be like, what are you thinking? This is the stupidest idea you ever had. And then have him join Chase U as a male cheerleader, and have him replace Brody. That should have been the gimmick they should have gave him. Like, he should be a male cheerleader with Chase U to replace Brody. Like, he should be with Chase U. And and script should have been saved for a more badass character. What's gonna happen when the first time he does a promo? Is he gonna use like a talking thing like Kane used to? It's like that's not gonna be his voice. I didn't like how Zoe Starks, came out to no music and no theme. I didn't like how she was just in the ring, especially after she just had this big turn on what's her name? I forget her partner's. Her
Nikita Lyon.
Yeah, especially since she just turned on Nikita Lyon, and after she had that really good interview about why she talked about what she did, now you're gonna have her just waiting in the ring for somebody that jobbed out to her. That made zero sense to me. I love the Charlie Dempsey vignette. I love the old school vibe of him. Again, he's a character I already love. And then I like you guys already said, I think Wesley and Carmelo killed it. It's not that we knew they're gonna have a good match, but for me, I'd rather not have seen the match. If they're not gonna move Carmelo up to the main roster, I'd rather he have just left the European title. Left the North American title behind, and I'd rather he was just like feuding with Braun Breaker for the NXT championship. I feel like they shouldn't have had him have to go back one more time. He should have just went into a feud with Braun for the NXT title, and that's all I kind of have right now for all that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Carmelo's already put enough prestige on that North American Championship. At least give him one shot for the NXT Championship before you send him to the main roster. However,
yeah, she just moved up to exactly main feud. Yes.
However, I think where he's done such a great job bringing prestige to that North American Championship, he doesn't necessarily need the NXT Championship. It'd just be nice to see him get one opportunity for it before they move him up, and it's definitely well earned on his part.
Yeah. Maybe they can put him with Carmelo on the main roster. Mello and Mella,
Yeah, for sure. That would definitely be interesting. We'll see how Corey.
Mella money.
We'll have to.
Yeah, great. Yeah,
we'll have to see how Graves reacts to that.
Right. maybe that could be how he gets his last match. There you go.
There you go. Well, I can definitely say Survivor Series is one of the most unpredictable events this year. Would you say the same thing, Will?
Certain parts of it, definitely.
Yeah, it was a little interesting this year. As we did our predictions, I didn't fare out so well. I was 1-4. You were 3-5.
So I got 3 out of 5 right.
Carlos, how did you do?
I think I only got one, didn't I? I think.
Yeah.
I think I only got 1 out of 5. Well, 2 out of 6 if you count Becky coming back. That's
no bullshit. We're not counting that.
Why not?
No.
Why not?
Why not?
Says the guy who guessed wrong.
Okay. Oh.
Keep that Sasha candle bright on every night. She.
All right.
Candle for Sasha.
All right, we'll give you 2 the good monkey points.
All right,
there.
Sounds good.
Bonus point for Will and Carlos. Carlos gets a 2 and Will gets a 4. Heather,
Will wins the night.
Heather, what did you end up?
I projected that the winner of the women's 4 games, the AJ and Finn, Scotland, and Ronda. So it was 3 out of 5.
3 out of
Will
5.
Wins.
Yeah. I guess Will technically wins with that bonus point. So
see, there you go. Wow. That's why you got to have those bonus points.
Wow, Will wins the Good Monkey Award this week, I guess. So
my fist is up in the air for you, Will. Just so you know.
He's got the
ones. Yeah.
Yep.
Acknowledging them.
Oh lordy. Anyways, let's get right into Survivor Series results. Before we get any more further off track, in the opening match, they started off with the Women's War Games match. Team Belair, Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Mia Yim, and Becky Lynch gets the victory over Damage Control's Bayley, Io Sky, Dakota Kai, along with Rhea Ripley and Nikki Cross. In match number 2, AJ Styles from the OC gets his victory over his former best friend Finn Balor. In the SmackDown Women's Championship, Ronda Rousey retains against Shotzi. In the United States Triple Threat match, which I think was the shocker of the entire wrestling community, Austin Theory becomes the new United States Champion, dethroning Seth freaking Rollins and Bobby Lashley. And in the main event, in the men's War Games match, the Bloodline gets the victory over the team of Brawling Brutes, Sheamus, Ridge Holland, Butch, Drew McIntyre, and Kevin Owens. And we're going to go ladies first on this because
Oh boy.
I know she's going to have a lot to say on this one. So, Heather, why don't you give us your take on Survivor Series?
I thought the women's War Games match was really good. They got in there and fought and beat the hell out of each other. I really liked that one, that match. AJ Styles and Finn, I really loved that AJ won. He needed the win. I knew Ronda was going to retain against Shotzi, and they made Shotzi look terrible. As usual, and Ronda sucks too. So, that match just sucked all around. I couldn't stand it. And Austin Theory and Bobby Lashley and Seth, I cannot fucking believe Austin Theory got the United States Championship.
A-Town down.
I shut up.
Oh, yes, I think Carlos is the one that's going to need to hide after this week.
But yeah, because I really thought Seth was going to retain. That was really a shocker for me right there. And then the men's War Games match. Oh my God. Fuck the Bloodline. And Sammy's little went fast. Like, really? You did that? I mean, you really went that far with that crap? His little oozy ass. And, like, I was like, I made the post last night, are you feeling oozy? Are you feeling broody? Because, you know, they made that point. And everybody was like, I'm feeling oozy. Like, y'all go to hell. But you know, like, it was a good match. Like, they really did good. But I didn't like the ending with Sami Zayn. But it was overall, Survivor Series was really good.
You know, William just gave us kudos in DM the other day for not mentioning the word oozy, and you just totally messed that up.
There you go, William.
She's got 2 words for you.
Oh, I think she has a lot more than 2 words the way it's been going today. Well, do you want to get it off your chest now, or do you want me to go to Carlos?
I'm 100% reserved. You can go with Carlos.
Carlos, why don't you go next?
So, you know, like, for me, like, the one thing for me, like, just to start off is, like, I feel like they need to do a better job of picking cities. Like, I mean, where I live, like, if they would have had that event in Sacramento last night, I guarantee you, like, the crowd would have been off the hook. I feel like, you know, it's one of those things where, like, oh, WWE's in town, the Survivor Series, let's go watch it. But people are just kind of going out of habit and because of their name recognition. But that crowd was just dead, and it just took away from the whole event for me. Like, that's the one thing you can talk about. Those AEW crowds, man, they make the events, and this crowd just sucked. And for me, like, the other. Before I get started, anything else is like Triple H has to deliver Sasha and Naomi. He has to. For me, like, he has to bring back Sasha and Naomi. Like, especially after he brought back Bray Wyatt, he needs to not bring anyone else back until he delivers those 2 women. Because until they can bring them back, the fans are going to just keep shitting on matches like Ronda and Shotzi. For the women's match, again, my one criticism is like, Whoever opened the match, they should have brought all the weapons in. The two people in the very beginning should have brought all the weapons in, or they should hang the weapons from the top of the roof next year. But like to me, like that, just the psychology of the War Games matches, like your partner's getting their asses beat, and you're going to take 90 seconds to go get some weapons. Like I just didn't like that psychology, and sometimes too, the psychology of War Games is like usually when the other team has the advantage or they even up, they're beating the ass of the other team, and I feel like that psychology was just lost a lot because they're trying to make time up for them to bring the weapons in. So that kind of just fell short on me. And I feel like I like how Becky called an audible. I think she called an audible for that table shot because she wanted to make the fans happy. So I love that part for Becky. I was glad to be wrong. Excuse me. I was glad to be wrong about Finn and AJ's match because I'm glad that AJ finally got that big win. He needed a singles titles win. I think he lost for like 3 years of pay-per-view matches in a row for singles matches. Again, Ronda and Shotzi could have blew herself out of a cannon. She could have done a 100-foot thing out of the top of the ceiling. It wouldn't matter. Fans just weren't invested in the thing, and I felt bad for her because she gave it her all. But the match just it could have carried less. Like again, Sasha and Naomi should have came out to interrupt them at the end. I thought the U.S. title match again. I love Austin Theory, so I like that. But again, to me, like no matter what, like it doesn't like this new character for me. It doesn't excuse what Triple H did with the Money in the Bank. Again, if he wanted to make Theory a badass, he should have had him lose Money in the Bank, contract to somebody else, and use someone else to cash it in. And then, had Theory go down this new character thing. Because, again, to me, this is the logic of it. So I'm still not going to forgive him for that. Because at the end of the day, even if you think you're going to lose your title match, you could have used that to have a main event match at WrestleMania. So, to me, the psychology still doesn't work. He doesn't get it. He doesn't get it out with me. I still don't like what they did with the Money in the Bank. And for me, too, if you were gonna just have Theory win the U.S. title, you should have just kept it on Lashley. If you're gonna, and that invalidates his excuse of we're trying to use Money in the Bank to make the U.S. title more prestigious. Well, again, if you want to make it more prestigious, don't hot potato the title. Like it should have never been on Rollins if he was just gonna lose to Theory. I didn't like that at all. But again, it's the right direction to have a heel champion because they're trying to make Rollins a face and Lashley a face and Ali, so it makes more sense to have them chasing the heel. As far as the main event goes, I didn't like the storyline of the main event at all. I don't like the fact that you had 3 former world champions in Sheamus, Drew, and Kevin Owens feeling insignificant. Like the whole way the match was booked, it was kind of like they don't stand a chance to win. The storyline's more about if the Usos, the bloodline can get along. And I don't like that at all. Like those are 3 former badass world champions, and they should have been just kicking ass with Sammy kind of just maybe at the end showing his true colors. But it wasn't like about these guys stand a chance. It was more of the storyline was more of, well, if the bloodline gets along and the match is there, there's no questions asked. And I didn't like that. I don't like that at all because it feels like they never stood a chance. And again, now I feel like I care less about those guys, and those guys are all former world champions who were red hot. At least the Brawling Brutes were going into that match. I just didn't like that at all. Those are my thoughts on Survivor Series.
Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and cover both the War Games matches right off the bat. The women's, I did enjoy that match. I'm glad that the faces won. I want to show a lot of respect towards Becky Lynch because she was smart enough to wrestle with care and rely on our legs more than she has in the past. And so that was a huge part of why I liked this match so much. Too many weapons. Just too many weapons. You and I are in agreement on that. Let's see. The men's. I'm with Carlos on this one. It seemed like the focus was more on the Sami Zayn and Jey Uso issue, and they just seemed to not really be that extreme on the match. It was just kind of a dud for me. AJ versus Finn. Great match. I love the fact that it was a clean win. Shotzi versus Rousey. This was a terrible match. Like, this was almost pointless. Especially when they brought Shayna Baszler in there to be distraction. What was the point of that if not once did Shayna really get any kind of leverage or affect the match that much. And you have Shotzi doing all those moves and just ends up tapping out. That was pointless to me. The triple threat for the U.S. title, grr again. I have no problem with the fact that Theory actually won the title. I just don't like the way they ended it, because to me it seems like it delegitimizes his win. Like Carlos said, they had him lose with the Money in the Bank thing, and then he turns around and just barely wins, all for the sake of continuing a rivalry. That just didn't swim with me.
Yeah. Well, I'll give my take on the three non-war game matches. I thought it was finally nice to see AJ break that losing streak, 3 years without a singles win on a WWE Premium Live event. I in agreement with both you, Carlos. Well, all three of you. It was nice to see him get that win. However, I just don't see this being the end of the OC and Judgment Day. I think when Carl Anderson and Doc Dallas come back from serving their New Japan dates, I have a feeling it's going to pick back up again. However, I think WWE dropped the ball by not having Edge come back. As far as the Women's SmackDown Championship match, I'm with Carlos on that too. I'm a little disappointed. You're in Boston, Massachusetts. That was your big chance to bring the hometown hero Sasha Banks back, and I don't know. I don't know if maybe a deal just couldn't get made, or Sasha Banks is still kind of holding up to get what she feels she's worth, and there's nothing wrong with that. It was a really huge missed opportunity there, because that match was, I hate to say it because I love both Ronda Rousey and Shotzi. Sorry, Heather. But, I just think you had two great in-ring performers, and I think they both fell due to shitty booking and creative. Sorry. Yeah.
I was disappointed to not see Sasha Banks.
I will agree with Brian Ballard. He did a great job on his Survivor Series review on Tap Out Talk. It was nice that it was a basic match and it kind of got done quick, but it didn't really serve a purpose to me, in my opinion. Both women didn't look great, and I know they're definitely capable of better work. As far as the United States Championship match, I'm with you. It's not so much that I'm against Theory winning the championship, but it was the spear from Bobby Lashley that did it in, and Theory just fell on top of Rollins for the victory.
Yep.
We just got done seeing a similar finish like on AEW Full Gear, where Samoa Joe in that TNT Championship match takes the belt to right behind Wardlow, knocks him out after he's already did the damage to Powerhouse Hobbs, and Samoa Joe gets the victory. It was like that, only just more accidental. Not a terrible finish, but I don't like that kind of finish. But, they should have just... To me, they should have either kept the title on Rollins...
Or had a solid victory.
Yeah, somewhere there. As far as the War Game matches, I kind of have similar thoughts for both matches. And you know where I'm going to go on this. I am very old school when it was first introduced by Dusty Rhodes in the Jim Crockett days. To me, the War Games match needs to be in an enclosed cage. None of this shit going toward the top and doing high-risk moves. To me, it's already dangerous enough just with them bringing the weapons as it is in the ring. Which I also think they don't need to really have the weapons in the ring either, because you saw a lot of those matches where they didn't have weapons. The only weapon was basically the cage. That year where we saw Steen's Squadron against the Dangerous Alliance, you saw Larry Sabisco and I'm trying to remember which other talent it was. It might have been Steve Austin, I can't remember. But they were taking the top turnbuckle off and they got it loose, and Larry Sabisco ended up using it. He was, I think, trying to hit Sting, and I think he accidentally nails Bobby Eaton. That's who it was, Bobby Eaton. And he thumps Bobby Eaton in the shoulder with the turnbuckle, and that's what cost them the match. You know, that's basically your in-ring weapon there.
Yeah.
I mean, you got plenty of in-ring stuff inside the cage to use as weapons.
The weapons took away from the matches to me.
Yeah, too many weapons, I think, especially the women's match, they really...
Overutilized.
Yeah, it's lazy booking. It's lazy booking. We'll throw some weapons in there, make it cool. It's lazy booking. But like you said, there's the War Games itself. The cage should be the weapon. That's the match. Like, yeah, I agree with you totally.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, enclose that top like Hell in the Cell cages are. You know, seal that top. No one can escape. Yeah. You know, lock that cage door once you get all 10 participants in there. Let them beat the shit out of each other. That was the purpose of War Games, was to brawl, not have a technical wrestling match. And
my favorite one was Sting and Brian Pillman, the Signers against the Horsemen, where Sid, I mean, because I was a huge Brian Pillman fan, and where Sid's bouncing Pillman off the top of the cage as he's powerballing him. I mean, I cried as a kid, you know, because I was like, oh my gosh, he's killed him, you know, like.
Well, that first power bomb Sid gave Pillman, if you watch it closely, Pillman landed more on his neck than he did his shoulders. They tried to sell it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I'm just sitting there thinking, oh, Jesus, Sid killed Brian.
Yeah, exactly. But that psychology of using the cage, it was just so mercenary. It was like, oh my, you didn't need the weapon. It was like you said, the match itself was the weapon. You know, it was that. Oh my gosh, traumatized me.
Right. Like I said, if you watch if you go back and watch on the Peacock Network, I recommended that on Twitter. Go back and watch that best of the War Games. You'll see the first 3 War Games matches, which I think came from Jim Crockett and WCW. I mean, I think the only weapon you ever saw thrown in the ring maybe was Paul Dangerously's cell phone. That was about it. Other than that, they always used the cage. They used the rope. They used whatever was inside the structure. But again, the point of War Games is to brutalize your opponents and brawl. It's not a technical wrestling match. It's the only way you should, in my opinion, you should be able to win. And I made this in my mid review for the website of the fans of ProWrestling.com. To me, they need to go back to where the only way you can win that match is to make your opponent submit or surrender. And that's what would make War Games be a kick-ass event again.
Absolutely.
But that's basically my take on the Survivor Series event, and overall I enjoyed the event still, regardless of a few flaws I saw in the event.
It was just weird.
Yeah, I mean, to me, and I even said I was humbled, but I still enjoyed the event because this was probably one of the worst events I did as far as predictability. 1 for 4 again. Only 20% guessing, but you know, it's just, I like the fact that WWE switched things up and made it look like still anything can happen. But yeah, other than that, you got anything else, Will?
No.
Carlos, you got anything else?
No, I agree. I'm just in agreement with you. Like you said, the psychology of it. If you're beating somebody up for 20 minutes, it's going to be easy to pin them. I like what you said. It should be submit or surrender. Absolutely.
All right. Heather, did you have anything else to add?
No, I don't.
All right. We'll just take a quick break and be right back. All right, now it's for our fun little segment, our top 10 for the week. And I'm assuming everybody's all ready to go. Will's nodding his head, so I know that you other two are ready. So we're going to do ladies first as usual. Heather, who do you have as your number 10?
I put Darby Allin.
All righty. Carlos?
I have FTR.
All right. William?
Britt Baker.
All right, and I put Ricochet. Heather, you're number 9.
FTR.
That was pretty close to Carlos. Carlos, you're number 9?
Ricochet, close to you.
Yeah, we're just going to tell each other, I guess. So, William?
Wesley.
All right. Yeah, and Heather, you're number 8.
I put the Elite.
All right. Carlos?
Number 8, I have Chris Jericho.
All right. Will?
Cora Jade.
Oh, I put Preston 10 Vance. I'm probably going to get some heat for that one. So, Heather, you're number 7.
Seth Rollins.
All right. Carlos?
I put Preston 10, so no heat for you.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you. I'm glad someone finally saved my ass. So, Will, number 7.
Jake Hager.
All right. I went with AJ Styles. So, Heather, you're number 6.
Wesley.
Carlos?
AJ Styles.
Are you doing this shit on purpose?
No, this is really my list.
Oh, Jesus. This is going to be
Good minds think alike this week, yeah.
I guess.
Scripts for number 1, too? Listen,
I'm kind of scared to announce my number 6 here soon, but Will, you're Will, you're number 6.
FTR.
Yeah, Will had him a little higher. All right, my number 6 went to Ricky Starks. So, Heather, we're getting the halfway mark. You're number 5?
AJ Styles.
Yeah. Carlos?
Austin Theory.
Oh, thank God. We broke it. Will?
Kenny Omega.
All right. My number 5 went to Kevin Owens. And Heather, we're now number 4.
I put number 4. I put the Bloodline and Sami Zayn.
Bloodline and Sami Zayn?
Yeah.
All
It's
right.
all in one. Come on.
All right. We'll go with that. Carlos, you're number 4.
I did my own thing this week, so it's,
Oh, well, hey,
No, okay, it's fine. Don't worry.
yeah, we're not going to rile her up anymore. I think we've done enough of that.
You're good. My number 4 is Wesley.
All right. Will?
AJ Styles.
Interesting. And I put Becky Lynch. Yeah, and Heather, you're number 3.
another one. That's my own thing. I put the Brawling Brutes, KO, and Drew McIntyre.
All right. Nothing wrong with that. We're just making sure you're all good. So
No one needs to get an arm. No one needs to get an arm broken. It's okay.
that's right. That's right. Carlos, you're number 3. Or sorry, you're number.
Ricky Starks.
All
Ricky
right.
Starks, and I'm doing the pose as I say it.
Will?
Chris Jericho.
All right. My number 3 actually went to FTR. All right, we're down to the top 2. Heather, you're number 2.
The Bianca Women's War Games team. Yeah.
Team Belair, basically.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Carlos, you're number 2.
Number 2 is Becky Lynch.
Will?
Well, crap. Becky Lynch.
That's okay.
Now you two are on each other, so have fun with that.
Uh,
My number 2 went to Rhea Ripley. And so now we're to the best moment. Heather, you're number 1.
Actually, I messed that up. Number 2 was Rhea, Nikki, and Damage Control. And my number 1 is the Belair team. I screwed that up.
Oh, okay. We're good. I'll get it fixed. Good thing I haven't put it in the website yet. So, all right, Carlos.
Scripts. No, I'm just kidding. No, sorry.
Oh,
The bloodline.
jeez.
The bloodline. Come on now.
Whoa.
Yeah.
We had the same talk too. I had a feeling it was gonna happen when you said yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna put scripts on the site just to piss you off.
No.
Oh, Will?
So this is the one that's going to surprise you. Ivy Nile.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, nice.
Yeah. think that pretty much broke it up with all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, my number one actually is a combo. I'm pulling a Heather and doing my own damn thing, so roll tide, bitches. No,
I do what I want.
my number one goes to Sami Zayn and Jey Uso having their little huggy moment there in the cage. So, yeah, that was quite the little interesting ending there. So, anyhow, yeah, that's our top 10. And if any of you out there listening have a top 10, please don't be afraid to submit it to us on Twitter or on our page, thefansofprowrestling.com. We have a little bit of a section there called on our contact us where you can actually submit a top 10 list to us. So please don't ever be afraid to send us to that, and we'll even announce it on the air in the future if you ever feel like doing so. So anyhow, with that being said, we're going to get right into our shout outs, and we'll start off with Heather on those.
Good Lord. NWO Machine, Vader from Wish, Wrestling the Truth podcast, Brian Ballard, let's see, Ted Hill, Hillbilly Hill. That's all I got for right now.
All right. Carlos, how about you?
I'm gonna give one to the Snack in a Raw podcast. I listen to them every weekend at work, and they just crack me up so much. So shout out to that team over there. Roth Infrared R, Sarah Execution 84 on Twitter, Patrick Patty Magic 96, Fester Fink at Scourge Vigo, Jay Jen Henry 79, and then the future WWE champ, the Jersey Hawk, Ethan Theory.
All right. Will, did you have any shout outs to give?
Not this week.
Based on that look, I understand. My shout outs this week go to a couple of special ones. The first one I want to give a shout out to is Mary Gomez, I believe her name is. She's one of our listeners out in Puerto Rico. So thank you, Mary, for always listening, doing some
Thanks,
retweets.
Mary.
That's very awesome of you to support us. One actually got a DM from last night. Very awesome of her to give us, I want to say her name's Nikki Bees. Her handle on Twitter is MyRadioClash. She actually sent me this DM. Hey, love your content. And, we appreciate you listening. Thank you. Also want to give a big shout out to a few podcasts that I listen to. I want to give a shout out to the Chime In podcast, the Today We Laughed and Learned, Austin Boyer over at the Wrestling World, the Ghost of All Elite, Fan in the Van, Ken, Mr. Gentleman Lifestyle podcast, he does a great job there. Yeti Yef, who does the 8750 podcast, that's loads of laugh. However, I do warn you, if you don't like adult material content or foul language, you probably shouldn't listen to that one. Other than that, also want to give a shout out to Jay Henry, who did a great job doing some live tweeting during the Survivor Series event as well. Same with Real Jack Cassidy. I think he actually admitted he liked a match on Survivor Series.
Oh my goodness!
Night. I just about blew my eyeballs out of the socket there. I'm like, I better screenshot this and save this for future reference.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a big shout out to all of you who do take the time to listen to us, because there are thousands of wrestling podcasts. But please also go support all those guys too. They do a lot of great content out there. Same with any other indie podcast. Lately, we've been getting good ratings on the Good Pods app. I believe it was number 8 on the wrestling or the indie wrestling or something like that. Number 6 on the whichever one it wasn't, whether it was the indie or the regular wrestling. And then we were like number 14 on the indie sports chart. So thank you to everyone who's been tuning in and listening to us. We appreciate it. And with that said, we're going to get right to our closing credits. Thank you to Libsyn.com for hosting our site and getting us on every platform out there. And we also want to give a big thank you to Pixabay.com for allowing us to download the royalty-free music to use. You can also reach us on the fansofprowrestling.com, our Facebook group, The Fans of Pro Wrestling. Carlos, thank you for joining that recently. We got you in there.
Yep.
And
You're welcome.
we're going to go over our Twitter handles real quick. Heather, why don't you go ahead and give yours first?
It's at BamaGirl _4 _EVA. It's BamaGirl forever and Roll Tide bitches. Goodbye, Auburn.
Well, did you have anything else to add there? Or you...
No, we just whooped their ass and that's it.
Okay. Carlos, why don't you give your Twitter handles there?
Yeah, so personal one's at C to the LOS 77, and then my nonprofit is at Conquer the No.
All right, William.
At William HOPPE 8.
All right, and for me, I've actually got two myself. One for the podcast, WF Insight Podcast, and my personal John JOHN WF Insight. You can also give us some voicemail feedback if you would like. Our area code's 385-367-4772. And we also have a brand new webpage for our podcast that might make it easier for everyone to access and listen to. If you go to podpage.com/Wrestling Fans Insight, all one word there, it'll actually direct you to our brand new podcast page, and you can select whichever player you like to listen to us on. And I believe that is it. Oh, I forgot. You can listen to us on pretty much every platform, like I mentioned before, from Libsyn.com. We are on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, Deezer, Ghana, Good Pods, and we have
Google.
our Google. Thank you, Carlos. That's your favorite, I believe.
Yep.
And you can go to our YouTube channel. Just find us, the Wrestling Fans Insight Podcast, and it'll take you right to our channel. Outside of that, I have nothing else. You guys have anything else to add, William?
Nope.
Heather?
No.
Carlos?
No, just thank you guys. It was fun. It was a fun episode. Appreciate it.
All right. And thank you, Obey Jess, for tuning in and listening to us in the room. We will be back again next Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, here on Twitter Space. And we hope you all have a great week. Be safe. Peace out. Take care.